Welcome back, everyone, to Buying Local. I'm your host, Mike Nelson from Five Towers Media. And I just realized I'm chewing gum, everyone, so I will try not to chew it into the microphone. I'm joined here today by, and I would say an old friend. I mean, we've known each other for a long time now.
Definitely.
10 years?
At least.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Karen Carey.
Yeah.
Ruby, Red Road. My wife is looking in. Did you?
I need to get stuff for Bodie.
Okay.
In order to
So do it. Yeah, well.
sequestered out in that
Okay.
area, and he wants milk.
This
No
is
problem.
The danger of recording at the house. We'll be in the podcast studio hopefully March. That's the target date, mid-March, but
60 days.
60 days. I'm also very optimistic in most things. I think you know that about me. I think I can do all 7 million things I'm trying to do and do them in the next week. And typically only 1 million of those 7 million things happen, but we'll see. So,
Of course. You're very capable.
yes. So, welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen Carey, Ruby Red Road. I think I said that. But so, Karen, why don't we real quick just take a moment, introduce yourself to our audience, listeners, and tell them, just who you are and what you do.
Hey, I'm Karen Carey, and thanks for having me,
Of course.
Mike. It's super awesome. You're one of my favorite people.
I know, likewise.
I'm a life and success coach. I do it within a lot of parameters, my coaching. I'm a yoga teacher. I have do something called Kintsugi yoga, which is sort of taking life skills and unearthing what's happening in your life and has happened in your life, along with some yoga and grounding and finding the gold in everything that we do and have experienced. I work one-on-one. I do some teamwork, mostly nonprofits, but otherwise as well. And I just help people go from where they are to where they want to be so that they can create the life that they actually want to live instead of, surrendering to what they should do or, what they think they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things there I just wanted to unpack real quick.
Yeah.
One is about yoga a little bit, and the other thing was, so you said it's interesting. I think you said you help people go from where they are to where they want to be.
Yes.
And I always describe that as the gap, right? Like and I mean, it exists in everything, not just in personal development, but it also like we identify it in our sales process as a part of marketing, right? Is where's your business right now versus where you want to be? How does marketing affect that? Yeah. How big is that gap? If it's a small gap, you don't need to pay me money, right? If it's a big gap and you need help bridging that gap, that's where we come in from a marketing standpoint.
Right.
It sounds like from a life coaching standpoint, would that be fair to say it that way?
Absolutely, because most of us don't know what the gap is, or we've been in the gap for so long that we're like sick of ourselves. I always say when you get sick enough of yourself, you'll change.
Yeah.
And so I've been sick of myself many times. So I know a lot about it.
I understand that. Yeah. I think most people can relate to that. I've actually, I have got this awful program in my brain that causes me every time I go to, and when I say every time, I mean this. Every time I go to do anything, I have to look for something that I need in order to complete that task. It is amazing to me.
Tell me more about that. Tell me what you mean.
Oh my God. Like this podcast. I need to set this equipment up, right? Well, guess what? I can't find something that I need in order, because I just didn't put it back. There's a program that runs up in here, and I have not yet been able to figure out why it's there.
I love that.
I mean, like our brains are pretty efficient tools, I think, for the most part, and they like to create efficiencies to make you operate. Like the reason why you can drive home and think about other things and don't have to fully focus on driving, right? Because your brain's done it so many times. It's like, okay, well, we know how to do this, so let's do this while you're driving. And I don't know what the use of that program is in my brain, but I swear to God, Karen, Kristen will hear me complain about it all the time, and it's so frustrating sometimes. I can't even tell you. Out in the barn, bales of hay, they're wrapped with string, right?
Yeah.
So I have a specific set of scissors out there that I use to cut the twine in case I'm out there and I don't have my pocket knife or whatever it is. So don't you know, every time I use those scissors, I don't put them back where they have a spot specific so I know where they are. I don't put them back. I put them somewhere else, so I got to go find them. Or I was out there this morning going to feed the animals, and I have a specific scoop that I use. Well, yesterday when I went out there, I must have set it down, and then I had to go look for the scoop in order. So it's in everything I do. Karen.
I can identify with that
Can you?
sometimes. But if you're married to me,
Uh-huh.
the challenge is that I'm constantly organizing and making things better.
Yeah.
So then you go to where it was last time.
It's not there anymore.
And it's not there anymore.
That's interesting.
And your wife hasn't told you. So
Yeah, so Kevin and I, we're going to start a little support group because we have a similar situation in this house with the reorganization. Really funny. Humans, we're such weirdos, right?
we are.
Oh my
It just
God.
cracks me up.
So, you mentioned the type of yoga that you're involved in, and I remember, God, this is a while back. Now, you used to be involved in Kundalini yoga.
So originally I started with Mark. Do you remember? I can't remember his last name right now. And
Kristen would probably know.
and he did hot yoga teaching.
Okay.
And then when I moved to California, I studied Vinny yoga, which is still what I teach,
Okay.
Vinny yoga. And the thing about it is you know me enough to know that I like to bring all the pieces of things together, like reorganize, speaking of organizing, so that it's not just a yoga class. I always do workshops now.
Okay.
Right now they're 3 hours. Where they'll go to from there is, I don't know. I'm in process of thinking about that. And
Okay.
will I do some retreats and things like that? Do you know what the word kintsugi means?
I don't. It sounds Japanese, to be fair.
It is. It's a Japanese word.
Wow, look at me, everybody.
I
That's
know.
amazing.
I am impressed.
Look at
and
the
you
big
should too.
brain on Mike, huh?
So you've probably heard of it before. It's
Okay.
it's an ancient word for if like a beautiful, expensive vase falls onto the floor.
Okay.
And then you put it back together with gold inlay.
Ooh.
And it becomes a work of art.
It sounds like a word. To be fair, I've never heard
I
of this.
love that. I love that you have it.
Kintsugi?
Kintsugi. Kintsugi.
Kintsugi.
Yeah.
Wow, that is really cool.
It's really cool.
So they smash it on purpose.
No, not originally. That's not how it started. It started with a mistake, and somebody, the
And then
king
they
or
did it.
whatever it was, got angry and said, "Put that back together," and they turned it into a work of art. So that's how I look at life. Like we all have like our broken pieces, and we put them back together, and we don't even know that we have them, and so we can find them, and put it back together into a golden work of art. I look for the gold for people. I help them look for the gold themselves. And that's the magic of life to me.
Okay, so that's kind of cool. So you help your clients look for the gold inlays that they're going to put those messy pieces back together with and make it beautiful.
Got it.
That's amazing.
Because every experience that we have, no matter how hard or how great, it has an impact on us that sometimes we can't fathom.
Yeah.
Or we don't understand. We don't understand the patterns that it creates, and the thing that we tell ourselves in our head. That we're not good enough. What did you used to call it? Mind chatter. There was something you called it.
Head trash?
Head trash.
Yeah,
Yes.
head trash. I got that from Sandler training, I'll be honest. It's not mine.
No, that's okay.
I stole that from
right?
Sandler,
I
but
mean,
head trash, yeah.
it's out there all over the place.
Everybody's got it.
Everybody's got it.
Yeah.
And so if we can, to me, like this is my perspective and my experience, if we can I don't really like the word unpack, but I was just about to say that. If
It's
we
a
can
super podcast word.
Yeah,
I started using it too because all the podcasts I listen to unpack. All right, let's unpack
I
it.
don't know. It's like
Explore.
it's important that you understand where you've been, where you've come from, the patterns that it's created in your life, and that you have the power to change that by changing your perspective, your desires, actually stop lying to yourself and tell yourself what you want. Wow.
That's fair.
I mean,
I know, it's
who
weird,
does
right?
that, right? I mean, now I'm getting pretty good at it, and I'm getting good at manifesting. Probably an overused word too, but I like it. Yes.
I'm a big proponent of
Yeah.
manifestation.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, if you're looking in the video, you can actually see a vision board in the background over there. We built that back in I think 2018 or 19.
Wow.
That was the farm manifestation board of the farm that you're currently sitting at. So
And was that before you moved here, or?
yeah, before we even, I think we were still in I think Chris and I weren't even living together. I don't think. She was at the her house in Saratoga, and I was at the townhouse in Queensbury. And but I had wanted a farm for 10 years,
God
and so I
bless
was
you.
I wanted to get it. And it's really funny too, because as I look, we haven't manifested everything on the board, but some of the things I didn't even know that I was gonna have or wanted. But the pigs on the board, I never considered having sheep or pigs ever. Not even kidding you.
See what you created?
Never. It just happened to end up on that board. I saw it in the magazine. I cut it down and put it on there, and then here we are. I now have pigs and sheep.
Are you happy about it?
I love the pigs and the sheep.
Okay, that's great.
I got to be honest with you. I'm sure the podcast listeners are tired of hearing about it, but I have a female pig that's going to give birth any moment, and I cannot wait. One of my favorite thing is new life on the farm. It's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and what's really funny is so we have a 400-pound sow out there, Penelope.
Yeah.
She was a rescue. She just showed up one day, basically, and that pig has really taught me some patience. And I remember at one point a couple of years ago, I said to Kristen, I was like, if you ever hear me say I'm getting another pig, then sell the farm. And then here we have 12 pigs on the property right now. So who knew?
That's great.
She taught me a lot. Penelope really, really helping me with the pig situation.
Well, you got to have some help with somebody, right?
So manifestation. So let's talk about that a little bit. And I do want to come back around to kind of all the things that you got going on and what you're up to business wise. But
Sure,
it's just a fun little,
Yeah.
path to walk down. So
Well, it's my passion,
yeah,
right? So why not talk about it?
yeah. So either in your life or with your clients, how do you help them identify what they want to manifest, and then how do you help them? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's interesting because the question is, what do you want?
Yeah.
Right? And obviously it takes a minute to get there. And then to have to re-ask it in a different way and re-ask it in a different way and then feed it back.
Is that because
I know you know.
People kind of trick themselves into thinking they want something they don't actually want?
Right, because they're trying, not on purpose. Well,
Right, yeah, it's not a malicious thing they do to themselves.
Right? Nobody's doing it on purpose. It's just we have our programs that we're bringing with us. Everybody knows, right?
Not everybody knows those. So
it's
I do the same thing where I'm
yeah,
because
of course
I know it, everybody knows it.
Exactly. Duh, right? No, just kidding. Did I say that out loud? Duh.
You made it. That's okay. I don't think everybody knows it, though.
I know. It's true. An example for me is I grew up in this really violent household that was sort of focused on me. And, I had things happen earlier than that kind of set me up for a life of violence or not loving anyone or not feeling lovable or, whatever. And so
I love that you're dismissing it.
I know I'm dismissing it right now, right? So this is how we do it, folks. We go, whatever.
Not a big deal.
I've been working on this for how many years? I won't say.
I probably don't know the whole picture, but I know some of the stuff that you've shared with me over the years.
Right, you do. And the good thing is I'm writing a book, so it's.
Are you really?
And it's actually almost done.
That's amazing.
I have to go through it, and get all the stuff sorted. But I just woke up 3 weeks and I was like, can I swear a little bit?
You can swear as much as you want. You can swear a lot. You don't even have a little bit.
No, get your head out of your ass and finish it.
Okay.
Because it was pretty much almost done.
Yeah.
But there were 4 or 5 pieces that were, I've got it split up in
Why do
different
we
ways.
do that, do you think?
I think for me, it's scary.
To release it?
To put my life out there.
Yeah. Be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable. it's like my inner children are like, what are you going to call that kind of attention to yourself again?
Yeah.
You were happy at one point when you were little, and now there's a consequence for that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very
Yeah.
happy. Don't you know I am?
I know.
But there can be a part of us, and I know for me, like that is processing through exposing my life.
Yeah.
And I know it'll help a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what am I waiting for,
Yeah, that's a couple episodes ago. I think it was 2 episodes ago. Jay Engleston. I don't know. You probably don't know Jay. But
No, I don't.
he's written 4 books, poetry books, and which is really funny because he's like a tattooed MMA guy, but it's the warrior poet kind of thing, and we were talking about the same thing though, like of when he wrote the first one, like.
Yep.
And it's on my list to write a book. I have no idea what I'm gonna write a book about, but we were talking. I was like, I remember the first time I wrote an article for a magazine, and I had a similar feeling where I was just like, oh my god, people are gonna like tear me apart because of what I like. Who the hell am I? We talked about imposter syndrome of putting that stuff out there, and you feel like, who the hell am I to talk about that stuff? Yeah, it's crazy. The vulnerability is so scary. And I haven't written a book, and I certainly haven't written a book about my life.
Yeah. And, there's a lot to it, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that why I really love the word kintsugi, right? You can tell, right? Yeah. Part of it is like me actually telling all the stories. So actually some cool ones too, like my guidance counselor who said, you got a really high IQ. And I thought I was really stupid because I was deaf in one ear. And he was like, you should be going to college. I didn't go to college. One ear. Well, it was 90% deaf in one ear. Okay. And so, it was something that I had an infection. Doctors in those days, were a little bit different, Anyway, the stirrup and anvil, which is this thing that connects in the ear, got torn apart. And so from the time I was 4, and nobody knew.
Oh, wow.
Including me.
You just thought it was normal.
I just thought, right back to the point where we started, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was thinking about this with weather. I was with 2 girls that were from different places recently. Mm-hmm. One was from the city, and one was like from Pennsylvania or something. And wherever they lived was a bit warmer. Mm-hmm. And so they were talking about how they react to the winter. Now, I'm from here.
Right.
And so I react to the winter like, okay, when my daughter was born, it was 20 below zero for 3 weeks. I think we're doing okay.
Yeah.
Do I want to go out and walk in this? No.
It's a little windy.
Yeah, it's a little windy. When it's not windy, who cares?
Mm-hmm. Right? 40 degrees. I mean, it was like 38 degrees the other day. Yeah,
exactly.
That's so warm.
Right. Come on, get a grip, right?
Florida.
So anyway, it's just like, and it goes back to how we don't know that we're reacting or behaving based on our history that we grew up with, the place we grew up, the family we grew up with, the perceptions that were had. I mean, I was a little odd for my family because I am a way big communicator, as you know. Like, I'm a little, like, hyper communicator, right? I can remember when I was a little 2 or 3 years old, sitting on everybody's lap and just like hugging them and loving them. And they called me soft soaper because I was just like, I just couldn't help loving everybody. But that's how I was born, right?
It's interesting.
So I just feel like we don't know the impact that and so we get these relationships because underneath the surface, that's what we think we're worth. Mm-hmm. Or for me, it was like I was almost incapable of love because I shut myself off when I was about 16.
Okay.
But when I had my son, that opened a door to, oh my God, this is love, And then my next one,
I do know.
Is this making sense? What I'm saying?
It does make sense.
Tell me. Yeah.
No, I definitely was not having kids, and then with my first daughter, and but then after that, I was like, I'd have 100 kids if I was independently wealthy and didn't have to
love
work.
that.
I would. I would have as many kids as you possibly have. I think being a parent is one of the best things you can ever do.
Oh, that's
But
so cool.
I mean, it's not easy, obviously, but it does definitely change the way that you see the world and how you love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting because and what you're saying to me is it's your worldview is based so much on the experiences you had prior to the moment you're experiencing your worldview, right? So when you're 16, your whole worldview was based on what happened to you previously.
Yep.
Right? And that can change, or it can get rooted in who you are and not ever change if you continue to make the same decisions based on that worldview at that point in time. Is that
You got
is that
it.
a fair statement?
Well, and the thing about it is we don't know.
Right.
There's no way for us to know when you're 16 or 18 or 20, unless you maybe there's more information about it now, so kids might be able to become aware. Kids are asking.
The internet.
Well, and kids are asking for therapists and coaches.
Yeah.
Young kids, they're actually saying to their moms and dads, "Hey, do you think I could get a coach or a therapist?"
My daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, a couple years ago,
Yeah.
not even a couple, geez, it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's helped her a lot.
I mean, I would have begged my parents for therapists if I knew I could have one.
Yeah,
You know? yeah. So anyway, we bring with us the stuff we don't know we're bringing. So I like to say we have to visit the past, but we don't have to stay there.
Well, yeah, because you're not doing therapy like
No.
that, right? Like, so it's
therapeutic. It
right.
is,
Okay.
Part of my background is transpersonal counseling. You know that I'm highly intuitive and, inner child work and stuff like that. But even with that, it's not staying there. It's just understanding. Like, to me, it's all about understanding. Okay, I had something happen when I was 3. I had something happen when I was 12. I had something that happened when I was 16. These were sort of big, strong, devastating things that, I had to do something about. Or I created a perception of the world. And because of that, certain things came with me. And honestly, God, from 40... After my first divorce, I really went downhill. My only divorce, my divorce.
my first
first
divorce,
and
my
only,
first out of 20 divorces.
Yeah, out of 20.
Yeah.
I had at least 20. I mean, it felt like it.
It's funny because you and Kevin have been married for how long now?
22 years now.
Wow.
I know, isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is cool.
We are extremely, extremely happy.
Yeah, I like Kevin a lot.
We had to go I had to go some dark roads down to wake up. Unfortunately, not everybody has to do that. Like, I'm a proponent of waking up before you have to go down the dark roads.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to do that. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
And yes, my hubby is an amazing man.
And he's funny. And I'm sorry about those
Yeah, that's all right. Who
text
cares?
messages that are coming through there. I forgot to close my laptop.
I could have reached it.
That's all right. So when you're working with folks, and so the first part is kind of to help them uncover what they actually want, not what they think they want based on a worldview that was, I don't want to say victim, but the worldview that exists because of prior circumstances that we're all kind of like dragging behind us like anchors. And then do you have like a certain process that you go for that, or is it kind of different for everyone?
Different times, different things right now. And I sort of meet people where they're at. One of the things I use, generally speaking, is an archetype assessment. You know what archetypes are. Yeah. It's a way to identify sort of the glasses through which you see the world.
Okay.
The strengths that you have, the challenges that you might have, and like for instance, it's common language. So if I say the word hero, everybody gets a vision of what that is.
Sure.
In any country, in any world, it's pretty much the same.
I think of like a cartoon Superman or Mighty Mouse.
I love that.
Like I do. Like if you say the word hero, and I literally like I automatically think of someone with their hands on their hips, chest puffed out, cape.
You know what I was rolled through my head yesterday?
What's that?
You're probably too young to remember Popeye.
Come on. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm going to be 48 in like a month. I remember Popeye. I grew up with Popeye.
Well, I won't tell you how old I am, but the song rolled through my head. Here I am to save the day.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Popeye, he showed up.
I was going to say, I got a can of spinach somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Got a can of spinach.
You remember the Robin Williams Popeye movie?
I have to say, I don't.
Oh my God, it was like one of my favorite movies growing up. It was definitely like, I want to say like 84, 85.
Okay.
Robin Williams played Popeye. They gave him those, like these big prosthetic forearms,
Yes.
you know, the Popeye forearms.
Yes.
And I forget who played Olive Oil. And it was this whole thing.
Can't remember.
Oh my God, and there's the big tugboat with, what was the villain's name that was always trying to steal Olive
If
Oil?
I could only remember.
Oh my, it
Yeah.
starts with a B, like Bluto or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And oh my God, it was this whole. I like to this day I still think about that movie. It was amazing. Robin Williams at his best. Anyway,
I'm going to have to watch it now.
yeah, you should. It was a great film.
I'm sure I saw it, but
Yeah, but it was a long time ago.
I'm one of those people that watches a movie and then I can watch it again in, a month or 2 or 6 months and I don't remember
And
it.
you don't remember it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've probably seen that movie 25 times,
I love that.
but I have not seen it in at least 25 years.
Oh, well, it's time to watch it again.
I think so. I'm gonna watch it with the kids. Force them. They're gonna be like, "Come on, this sucks so bad."
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, so sorry, I keep sidetracking
no,
us.
I think I did actually, but I'm actually known for two things, and one is interrupting people, and the second is sidetracking the whole damn conversation,
I
taking
love
us
that.
down something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I love that.
So, okay, so helping people understand what they want. And then what does it look like for when you're working with people? So we were talking about manifestation, right? Like helping people manifest the lives that they want. The first part is understanding what they want, what they actually want, not what they think they want based on their current worldview.
And who they are, right?
Okay.
Who they are and what they want.
And that's where the archetyping comes
That's where the archetypes come in, and the if I'm not using that, I'm using something similar. There's an essence conversation that I sometimes do with people, essence and patterns.
Do you remember the tool? You used to use it. You
Yeah.
used to call it the tool, and I can't remember anything about it other than the fact that you called it the tool.
See what I mean?
What was
I
it?
probably
bad?
still use it, but I don't remember.
But you don't
what it
remember
was.
which one it was.
No.
Yeah, that's funny. It was like I remember,
I wish I had a note about it. What was that?
Well, I'm trying to think. I feel like it was the tool that you used to help, because when you and I worked together, which was 10 years ago,
At least. Yeah.
it was like the process. It was like almost like a worksheet almost that you gave, that you took people through this, or not took them through it, but like it was the thing that you used to help them get started, and you called it the tool. And this is before archetyping.
Yes.
God, I wish I could remember.
I'm going to look for it now because, because I've used so many different things over the years,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, because you've been doing coaching for how long?
16 years now.
Yeah. That's probably about how long we've known each other.
Yeah, I think we met in like 2011.
Yeah.
And then we were working together in like 2015 and 16.
Yeah, that sounds about
15, about 10 years ago.
right. Yeah, because I had my with the Novopreneur program that I was doing with people. Yeah, and doing small business coaching.
Yeah, it was so fun.
And you were helping me with all my head trash. And I still remember too, from when we worked together, you had me identify the 3 mics that exist. Do you remember this? So there was Malay's mic, which was the mic that just got overwhelmed and didn't want to do anything.
Yep.
And then there was the Fix It mic,
Yep.
which was the mic that showed up after, I think it was the Fuck It mic. That was like, I just would get so like overwhelmed, just like, fuck it, I don't even care.
Yeah.
Right? Taylor, you can bleep out those F-bombs if you want. That's our podcast producer.
Do you remember the essence part, which you had to do before you did that's like, it's a way to identify your patterns.
Okay.
And I love that you still remember. I
still
remember mine
those.
too.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
What were yours? Do you
Are
want
you
to share?
ready?
Yeah,
Sure,
I'm
why
ready.
not? So this was one of my main one was Invisible Loser, which was
Wow.
this. So it's really simple to identify, which is. So let's say Kevin criticized me. We used to have our relationship's been 100% great forever,
Yeah.
but we had our things to work through, right?
Yeah, we all do.
Let's say he would criticize me, and then I would go and like pout. Nobody loves me. Like the
Okay.
way I felt
Yeah.
as a kid. Nobody loves me. I guess I'll go eat worms.
Yeah, it would
that kind of
trigger
thing,
that
right?
program,
It would
yeah.
trigger that program. When somebody's really critical of themselves already,
Yeah, to
a
receive
little
any
criticism is like a sledgehammer, even if it's just a drop. I think it's funny. And then I would turn into stupid lunatic, which would be I would fight back. And the way I identified was when I was fighting back, I noticed that my hands were actually moving like this.
That's funny.
It was really funny. And I was like
Like it would happen. You wouldn't even be thinking
I
about
wouldn't
it.
even be thinking. I would be like, yeah, I do use my hands a lot, as you can tell.
Yeah.
But
They would
this
do a
was
specific
like,
movement, though.
whoa. And then the third one was, I'm just using it in my relationship, right?
Yeah.
The third one would be tyrannical weasel, which would be I would, like the next day I'd be like, so, that thing I'd be all nicey, that thing we talked about yesterday. And I just wanted to say, like, maybe you should ... or maybe we could do, I was like, but once I identified those, man, I know if any of those show up, which is rare, a couple times a year, maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
I know I have to go deeper. What I do is what am I not saying or what am I not doing? That's basically what it boils down to. And so then I have to work myself. And then to be able to sit there and have feelings. So this is the big thing as well. I know I'm all over the place, but bear with me.
No, you're fine.
The biggest thing we have to learn on this whole planet is to feel our feelings without having to fix them.
Oh.
Because when we can do that, then our body goes, oh, there's that pit in the middle of my belly, but we're not reacting, so I guess we're safe.
Okay.
And I feel like it gives us the ability to build up the capacity to be with feelings and to be angry without having to explode or to manipulate or to whatever it is we do, walk away, whatever people do, right? And we get to grow in strength and become a different human. It's like, oh, this isn't about me. This is my body's having this reaction to what I'm hearing or being told or this experience I'm having. And I'm going to go down the trail of like, I hate myself and that's really what's happening in my body, or I'm scared and that's what's happening, or my heart is broken, or, whatever we all go through.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So did that make sense the
It
way I
made
said
perfect
it? Yeah.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you're saying that, it was making me think about, same thing with the 3 mics and like what my strategies, since you helped me identify those, what my strategies have been to deal with them. And I do spend a lot of time in the fix it zone though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
But that's because business wise, it's like I still have a program somewhere that every 6 months I gotta like feel like my business is burning down around me so that I can, like Malay's Mike, I don't go there very much anymore.
Isn't that cool?
Well, it is. And it's funny because now when I do go there, like when it starts to creep in a little bit, because you help me identify it, I recognize it pretty quickly. And then I just start taking action.
Yeah.
So like to kind of put Malay's mic off. Well, actually, I shouldn't. I do 2 things. I start taking action. So I'm just like, hey, listen, just start doing something that's going to make whatever you're being Malay's mic about.
Yeah.
It's going to help. I don't want to fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the F it mic. I won't drop the F bomb again. I try to really not let him even show up at all because there's nothing constructive there. right? That's like, I'm just going to burn everything down around me and not even care about it. So like when that starts to even think about showing up, I definitely shut that right down. And again, I'm just going to start taking action. Like I just think about it like, well, what's important now,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, like all these things are going on. Like what do I need to do right now? I'm just going to start. I don't even need to finish. I'm just going to start taking action. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what I do.
Yeah.
these
Why
days.
not? Right.
I don't know.
There's no getting it right. So we might as well do something
do
and
something.
take some action.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of just being malaise, Mike. Let me just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Kit.
Yeah.
I like neti potted before we started, and now I I feel like my sinuses want to drain. So just give
I
me-
love that. Take your time.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Taylor, if you want to just cut that out real quick so there's not a gap. So,
Do you remember the essence part?
I don't remember the essence part.
Okay, so that's where you made 10 phone calls and you asked them a question. And then we identified 5 words that would speak to your essence.
Interesting.
It really is cool because we all know our shitstorm, right?
Yeah.
We don't necessarily all know our essence because it's so much harder to believe that. Right?
That's kind of like Dan Sullivan's unique ability. You ever do that exercise?
No, I didn't.
Do you know who Dan Sullivan is?
I should know who he is. And I
Strategic
probably do.
coach. I think
Okay.
they're out of Chicago.
Okay.
He's got again, personal development space and coaching space, right? Like everyone's using similar tools.
Yep.
Humans are pretty simple creatures when you really boil it all down. But he's got a similar thing to essences, but it's called unique ability. But same thing, you kind of reach out to people that you know and that you hold in high regard, and you ask them, like if you were going to write one sentence on my unique ability or something like that anyway,
Yeah.
what would you say about me? And that's kind of to help you understand like what your essence is, like what you're about.
I love that.
Yeah.
The question that we have is about qualities, what your qualities are, and what do you see as my qualities, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
But I still remember my essence words, and it helps me when I'm not in my essence.
Okay.
Yeah, it really does help.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Do you get into like auto suggestion at all, like mantras as a part of what you do?
Sometimes, yes. And when I do that, I encourage people to put them up on their bathroom mirrors, that kind of stuff. Money comes to me easily and effortlessly. I love and approve of myself. A lot of Louise Hay stuff, but also people come up with their own stuff. Like I have to always remember it's not my job to tell you, even though sometimes I'm going to open the doors and make suggestions. I know as a coach, we're not supposed to make suggestions ever. However, I see it a little bit differently. If we get to the end of our coaching session and maybe you're not still not in your body, I might say you might want to take a few breaths right now, or what, that's a stupid example, but there are examples where it's important to encourage people to know that they have the power, and they can still have the power even if I make a suggestion.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone is exempt from negative self-talk.
No,
Like everyone deals with it at some point in time.
probably 10 people on the planet.
That are exempt from it?
Well, not for their entire life, but they've had this evolution. Like, who am I thinking of? Like Eckhart Tolle,
Okay.
right? I mean, he was about to kill himself when he had his
That's Power of Now,
evolution, right?
Yeah.
Power of Now.
Great book, by the way, everyone, if you want to read. Yeah. I did the audio book, which was much easier to get through than the physical book. For me, anyway.
Well, there's something energetically about that book
Yeah.
that can it can be a slow read,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because it really, like from a spiritual perspective, sort of can get in there and start like moving things around.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, his story, the whole thing
yeah.
is just absolutely amazing.
It's incredible,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And I love, one of the things that I remember the most from that book was you don't have to leave a relationship. You just have to keep asking for what you want. And eventually they will either change or leave. It's something I just never forgot, you know? And then, which once again, like our life is, what we think is coming at us is really coming from us. So, and that is an absolute 100% truth about life and how we live it.
Yeah.
And our, once again, our programming and, you know, patterns and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think if we can, that was another good one from one of my coaches. Like, oh my God. I'd heard it before in my transpersonal counseling training, but it didn't sink in that time. So
It's well, and I think, and you're kind of touching on something too, like when you say from your coaches, like obviously you believe in coaching, like you have coaches.
here's the scoop. So
Yeah.
I go to my coaching. I had gone to therapy and all kinds of things for years. Nothing wrong with therapy. Please don't think that I'm saying that. And it was helpful, but every time I left, including a few times I asked, like, now what do I do? What do I do with this? I want to change. I knew I needed tools. And so, so I went to coaching school. The first day I sat back in my chair and I was like, I literally took a sigh and said to myself, I have finally found what I've been looking for. You know, I'm a Reiki master, a transpersonal counselor, a reflexologist, a yoga teacher, a fitness instructor. You know, I'm sure there's 3 or 4, you know, a team building expert, this, that, you know.
Yeah.
I had my own salon. You know,
All the roles that you played in
all the
life,
roles
yeah.
that I played, and they were all because I was searching for something better, for a way to heal myself, because nothing that I was doing seemed to be making much difference. I was still going down the same dark path.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, holy moly, I have finally found what I have been looking for. And I have not looked back since that very first day of school.
Now, was that the
Accomplishment coaching.
And when did you do that?
I did that in 2009.
Okay, so that was like, now was that when you were working with our mutual friends?
We were in Seattle. No, I was in Seattle at the time.
Oh, okay.
No, I had
Before you
broken
came
up
back
with
to
them.
Saratoga.
Yeah.
Or after them.
It was after them.
Oh, okay.
I think. Wait a minute. No, it wasn't. It was before them.
It was before that.
Yeah.
And then you came here and you guys worked together for a little bit.
Yes.
I think that's definitely when you and I first met, was when you were working with them. I'm quite certain. Was it like maybe a Saratoga Chamber event?
Yes, it was.
Right?
It was a Saratoga Chamber event. Yep.
Good old Chamber. I love the Chamber.
And then you taught me all about the body language stuff. And I came to some of your classes besides all the coaching you were doing with me. And that was really fun.
I'll tell you, I had a really fun time exploring all that and going down that path with body language and all that. It was just really fascinating. Because again, like, you don't know what you don't know. So when I got introduced to that stuff, I was like, wait, that's a thing?
Yeah.
And then like when you get like, you know, it's like a magician doing card tricks almost, but it's like, oh my God, like that. Because I remember the feet, right? We were talking about the feet.
Right? I'm standing talking to you at a networking meeting. I got 1 foot turned and you're like, oh, do you have to go? And I looked down at my feet. I was like, oh shoot, I guess I do.
Yeah, oh my God.
I was like, that's embarrassing. Okay, I didn't mean to be doing that.
You know, it's really funny too how like all that stuff, when I first got a hold of some of those tricks, we'll call them, at first it was just like fun, but then it was really interesting because it gave me insight into like someone's mental state, and it like gave me the ability to make something easier on them. Like I could tell, like, all right, these people, this person, obviously, both their feet are towards the door. They're, different cues. I'm like, hey, listen, like if you got to go, and you can just make it easy on them. It was really nice. It was a nice tool to have in the toolbox.
And it also shows me when I'm not being present.
Ooh.
And since COVID, honestly, I know people aren't really much talking about it anymore, but
I don't know. It comes up in every single conversation I'm in. Oh my God. Yeah.
It just feels like we had some PTSD drilled into us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're still a little challenged by it.
Yeah.
We're still integrating into society again. And
I'd say even more than a little. The amount of the frequency that it has in my conversations, not that I'm bringing it up, but that it just comes up because it was a huge event in everyone's life.
We were, for those who have felt trapped in our lives sometimes, literally physically trapped.
Yeah.
Wow. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
And even those who haven't, they've never experienced being, trapped. It's like, this is not real. This can't be real. I can't be stuck in my house. I can't, And then there's those who went,
trapped
I'm not
behind a mask, trapped
in
in your house.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
all of it.
How it affected our lives, how it affected our businesses.
Yes.
Some of them still, there's still a couple lingering effects with my business that I'm still, I don't want to say digging out of, but it was, almost shut us down. I mean, we had
you're digging.
Yeah.
I'm still digging a little bit myself.
Yeah. A lot of people are.
I'm excited that I am, getting on the other side of it, though. It really took me a long time, so.
No, there's so many things.
So many things.
Just trying to be respectful of your time here, Karen.
Yeah, you too.
So I got all the time in the world, Karen.
Oh, good for you. Good. Well, my client we had to move up half an hour, so now I don't have to leave until 2:45 or 10:03, something like that.
We got plenty of time then.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So, so we talked about manifestation. We talked about you helping people uncover what they want, which it's such a mind-boggling thing because it makes me think back to when we worked together and about how you really do trick yourself into thinking that you want things that you don't actually want. And then you get them and you're like, shit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about your process. Because, I happen to know a couple people that you work with, and they can't say enough good things about working with you and how you
tell
help
me.
them.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just kidding.
Tell me how great I am.
Yeah,
everyone.
who are they?
Well, and
No.
and I mean, you said it, and I always say, I actually just met with someone this morning that mentioned your name, and I was like, oh, Karen, she's one of my favorite people.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. I mean, you have just a great presence. Everybody,
Thank you.
anyone that knows you knows that. You're very soothing to be around. You don't even try to be soothing. You're just very soothing. And I don't know why that is, but maybe it's because you're so intuitive.
Yeah,
And,
maybe. Yeah.
So you're able to pick up on how people are feeling and what's going on. And,
Yeah, maybe.
You're able to respond to that. But tell me a little bit more, or tell our listeners a little bit more about what working with you looks like.
Generally speaking, it is. I'm more of a long-term commitment, to be honest with you.
Okay.
The minimum that I work with people is 3 months. Sometimes it goes on for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Partly because it takes time and practice to make the changes that make a difference.
You mean I can't just write you a check and do one session and change my life?
I mean, I wish, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
There have been a couple of people along the way that have only worked with me for a couple of months, and it's really 3 months, and it's really made a difference. But most people, it just takes time.
Yeah.
And then there's the next steps after that. Like, what am I actually creating? What was I talking to somebody about? People don't have confidence. Once again, as a coach, I'm not always supposed to be this, but I'm going to tell you how great you are. Because I can see exactly how great you are. Mm-hmm. And I'm not kidding. If people could see themselves from sitting over here, it's incredible. The places that they've been have made them stronger, smarter, more beautiful, more hungry, you know, more wanting to change the world in their way. Even for a team, like when I work, you know, people are mad at the top dog most of the time, you know, but there's no reason to be, because they're the ones that are taking care of you.
Right.
You know, without somebody at the top, how are things going to? You have to have somebody at the top, and sometimes it's not going to look like you want it to look.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we can't make alterations, but so once again, it tends to be a little bit more longer term. I always do a complimentary session for people. I gift a couple sessions because I want you to know what you're getting into.
Sure.
And if you're actually want it, if we're a fit for each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm just so, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm hearing echo on that microphone.
Might be me.
It's not you, Karen. You're perfect.
Oh, sure. Ask Kevin.
Well, that's a whole nother dynamic. I always think that's interesting that you can be perfect to everyone in the world except your spouse.
And we were so good, literally. Like he came into, another sidetrack. He came into the room the other day and he knows I'm working on the book. He's like, you know what? I have my word for you. And I was like, oh, what is it? He's like, adore. So I go in a couple days later and I've been thinking about my word for you, and it's gratitude. And so now we just look at each other and smile.
That's cute.
Adore and gratitude.
Now, was that from an exercise that you guys were doing?
So part of it for us is we really acknowledge each other pretty much all day, every day.
Okay.
We really do adore each other. So I go in his office, I'm like, I'm sorry, I just have to give you a kiss. And he's in the middle of writing something. I'm
Sure.
like, I'll try not to come in again for a while.
That's cute.
He'll hear I'm done in one of my coaching calls. He'll be like, do you want a cup of tea or something? Can I get you anything? You know, it's just it's the little things that matter.
Yeah.
And whether you're that's the other thing. Your business and your life are not separate. I don't care what anybody says.
I agree with you.
Who you are anywhere is who you are everywhere.
Yeah.
And it comes in different shapes and forms based on where you are at the moment. But honestly, if we're messy in one, we're going to be messy in the other. And one will impact the other as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important for us to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I always hear people talk about like work-life balance, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's an actual thing. I know that we all want to have this work-life balance thing, but your work is a part of your life. Like you spend a considerable amount of your day every day doing this thing, whatever that thing is. How can you separate it?
And especially if you're, an independent business.
Yeah, business owner, entrepreneur.
Business owner, small team, big team.
Yeah.
It doesn't end when you close the door.
Yeah, you don't punch out and go home.
Right, exactly. That would be really nice. But would it?
Yeah,
would it?
I don't think that it would. Same thing I think about like with like retirement. People talk about retirement. And I'm just like, you have to, and I think you and I have had this conversation before. You have to occupy your time doing something.
Yes.
And to me, retiring sounds like dying.
Yes.
Like, what do you mean? I'm just going to stop doing things? I'm just going to go off and like, what does that even mean? And and they're like, well, I'm just going to stop doing things for money. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? I'm
right.
Like, why are you doing things for money now? Like, money's a byproduct of adding value to the world. Just go out and add value. And people pay you great. If they don't, great. Whatever. You still added value to the world. Why not just keep doing it? I don't know.
So many people retire. I don't know if it's so much anymore because the world's a little bit different. But when I was younger, they'd retire, and then like within 2 years,
they die.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did because they were sitting and watching TV with nothing to do and no purpose in life.
No purpose.
Feeling empty and,
yeah.
I think it can be different now because of everything that's accessible for us, But yeah, so did I sidetrack it? Did I answer
No,
your question? I don't
sidetracked
remember.
this, actually. Again, I did it, Karen.
Thank God.
I know.
It's not just me.
No, it's not you. I can't even. Well, my mind just darts all around the
Me
place,
too.
and
Yeah.
and
You can tell.
And when we're having conversations, it's like you say something like, "Ooh, I want to explore that." Like, "Ooh, I want to unpack that."
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I'm trying to make sure I don't ask you questions that Mike asked you on, because I listen to the podcast.
Oh, I haven't listened to it. I never
you
listen to my
haven't?
podcast now.
I don't actually listen to my podcast.
I can't.
So we do this when we do Blue Collar Startup, and
Yeah.
and like I'll talk to guests that we had on, and they said they listened to it, and or like Derek from Daigle Cleaning, that is my business partner on Blue Collar Startup. He listens to them, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. I literally, I hear my voice.
Yep.
And I immediately am just like, oh my God, I sound like such a douchebag. Like that's literally the self-talk I get from it. So I just, after like the first 2 episodes, I just stopped listening to it. Like I don't know. I can't listen to it. And I'm just like, I know that some people would say that you should listen to it so that you can make notes and be better the next time. But I can't do it. And maybe there's some work for me to do there, but like, I can't do it, Karen.
I was thinking the same thing about myself, but what I want to do is show up and be present.
Yeah.
Because if I start overthinking things, that's when I make a mess of it.
Yeah.
When I do speaking engagements, right? Like I have notes. I don't have the whole speech written out, and I go over it and I think about it, and it kind of downloads into me what I should be saying. But literally, if I overthink it, then I just don't do so well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because you try to remember that thing that you wanted to say, and then you can't remember it, so it messes you up.
Exactly. Or oh God, I was supposed to say that 5 minutes ago, and should I add it in now? And then I'm overthinking, and right?
Yeah. No, I do a similar process whenever I say I would do. I still do it once in a while. Whenever I would do public speaking or teaching, and you know what I do is I build. Are you familiar with the term memory palace?
No.
So there's a book called, and anyone should read this book because it is just entertaining. But it's called Moonwalking with Einstein, and the name of the author escapes me. But essentially, what happened was the author, I think for maybe Rolling Stone, was going to write a story on the memory championships that take place every year. And then next thing you know, this guy, so he goes and does this, but then he ends up like getting involved in this whole memory underground and like ends up winning the world memory championship like 2 years later. And he did it by memorizing, I think it was either 2 or 3 or 4 decks of cards in the order. And so he takes you and through this whole process about how those guys do it. And what they do is they build a memory palace. And so I do this when I public speak. And essentially what I do is I build rooms. I build this building in my mind.
Yep.
And as I walk in the door, I turn to my right and I see something. And I make up some outlandish thing like pink polka dotted tutu on a hippopotamus. And that's what makes me think of the first thing I want to talk about.
Yep.
And then I go through the memory palace, and as I go through the different rooms and through the doorways, and as I come into each room, there's something in there that makes me think of what the next thing is. And that's how you would remember, like he was talking about it, where you'll get like a mentalist, if you know the term mentalist, or a magician, and where they would like do this thing where they would go through the room and they would meet all these people, and then they'd be able to remember everyone's name. And it was like a similar thing, right? Because I'd meet you and I'd be like, Karen, and then I would come up with a thing in my mind where like, it got all these K's. So it would be like, and I don't even know, like Karen on a carriage,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. And
Yes.
and so that way when I saw you again, I would think of the visual.
Yep.
And that would remind me what your name was.
Have you heard of Jim Quick?
I don't think so.
This is his training as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what all these people that have like these amazing memories. It's not because they have a photographic memory. It's because they have this tool that they use to help them remember. It's fascinating.
Such a good tool.
Yeah.
I try to use it once in a while for getting groceries.
Okay.
If it's not too long of a list.
That's funny.
And I just like have my blueberries, and the bananas go on top, and then the electric heating pad goes on top of that, and then the water,
That's funny. You know what? It's funny is that like all great tools, I typically just leave it in the bag and don't use it. Like the only thing, it's funny. The only thing I really use it for is for public speaking now. But
It's great.
yeah, no. When I go to the grocery store, I have to make a list now.
I tried to use that at the. Do you remember that thing we did at the Holiday Inn? You had me as one of your speakers. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, the growth seminar. Yeah.
Here I am, my back's facing the audience, and I'm like, I say out loud, okay, let's see if I can remember it. And then I'm like, so about 10 seconds goes by. And you know, that's a long time when your audience is looking at your back, right? And I was like, I got my list out. And I looked at it and wrote it on the flip chart. I think I was just too stressed out.
It's not easy getting up in front of a room full of people, you know, and being an expert and talking about stuff.
God, I love it, but I'm not. I am definitely a nervous Nelly when it comes to speaking. And yeah, but whatever. I do it because I enjoy it. And I think it's good for me to do things that make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right.
I always try to make people laugh. That makes me feel better.
Yes.
But I'm not as funny as I think I am, so it doesn't always work out. So listen, we hit the hour mark, and I don't want to keep you here all day, but I do. Real quick.
Yeah.
So you're writing a book.
Yes.
So that myself, and sorry everyone, my son's in the background yelling. We'll be in the studio soon.
Good.
So myself and the whole audience can hold you accountable to when you're finishing that book.
Yes.
When do you expect to have that done?
It's a good question. I should have like my part done within, I think on Thursday. Then I'll send it out to the one person who's going to look at it first.
Okay.
Or one or two people. And then they can give me the feedback.
Okay.
And then I can go within a couple of months, I would say.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a process and
you'll self-publish through like an Amazon
I think so to start with, and then go from there. I've got, Robin. Yeah. So she's going to help me with that. Her little book is coming out on Thursday, on the 13th of February. So I said I would have mine finished by the 13th. So as well.
Pressure's on.
But not published, right? Yeah. Okay. So soon. And I will let you know when that is done.
Yeah, please do. I know Jay that was on here that I spoke of before, he self-publishes. He does it all through Amazon. And he tried another, I think he said Barnes & Noble at one point in time, but he was like, Amazon's a lot easier.
Okay.
And seemed to be better. So he just has a new book that just came out, and he used Amazon for that. So
awesome.
Food for thought.
I mean, Hay House, of course, is my long-term goal because I'm a very good fit for what they do.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that's
I don't know anything about that.
They're all personal development,
Really?
nonfiction.
Wow. Hay House?
So, yeah, Hay House. Do you remember Louise Hay? You Can Heal Your Life. I call her the mother of affirmations.
Okay.
And she's basically the person who brought affirmations out into the world.
Why? You think I would know who that is? Because, I used affirmations constantly for different reasons.
Right. See, so that's how I see it because I learned about her in my transpersonal counseling training, which is in the early 90s.
Yeah.
So, and I use her book, she connects it with affirmations to illnesses. And she healed herself twice from cancer, 2 different kinds of cancers, doing her own work.
Wow.
She also did reflexology and she did tapping, if you know what that is.
I do know what tapping is, yeah.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah. So there's so many amazing things out there, right?
It's a vast universe of information out there.
Exactly.
And not all of it's on the internet, everybody.
Exactly.
So Karen, if people they want to learn more about you or they want to connect with you, where do they find you?
So I'm going to apologize ahead of time. A lot of the links on my website are broken. Right now, I have once again been slacking a little bit with, let's just call it long COVID. And I'm really working. I would say I'm almost back to normal. Okay. So as soon as I can, I will get those fixed. You can look at that. You can still contact me through the website, which is rubyredroad.com, and also Karen at kcarey.com.
Okay, Karen.
All right. Hey, I actually love that email. So it's Karen. I'll use it today. I've never used it before. I'm like, oops, did I just say that? Because that's what I've been wanting to do, but wouldn't let myself. So it's Karen at KCarey.com.
Okay.
So best way to get in touch with me, guys.
Okay. And you can also, Mike Krakowski recently did a podcast with you.
Yes.
Inspire Saratoga is Mike's podcast, which was just really quick. It was just really funny because he was on last week.
He told me.
His episode just came out today, and it was because, and I hadn't talked to Mike in years.
Yeah.
And, but it was because you posted the podcast. I was like, oh my God, Krakowski's got a podcast.
Exactly.
I gotta get him on the show.
Exactly.
So definitely check that out. It was a good episode. I thought you sounded fine.
I did? Okay.
Yeah, I like
Would
the
you tell me the
information.
truth?
Yeah, of course
Okay.
I would. No, I thought it was great. It talks about Ruby Red Road
Right.
and
Yeah.
coaching, and covers a little bit of the stuff we talked about as well, but some other things too. So it's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you for coming out to the farm.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Way better than Zoom.
Oh, it's so nice out here too. You know, I'm not a big, live out in the country anymore fan.
Yeah.
And when I drove up, I said, oh, I would live on, if I had, somebody to do everything and I was a millionaire, I would live on this property. It's so beautiful out here.
It is a lot of work.
It is gorgeous here though. I can't imagine how much work it is for you.
Well, it's nonstop work, but yes, it's worth it every moment.
But you gotta, fix it, Mike. He's gotta have something
correct.
to do,
I gotta
right?
do something. Gotta occupy my time doing something, Karen.
Thank you so much.
You
I
are
appreciate
very
you.
welcome. I appreciate you too. And thanks everybody for listening.
And
We
you.
appreciate you as well. Yeah. You of course can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. And from a complete listing wise, you can find us on Glens Falls Business Report and SaratogaBusinessReport.com. Follow us everywhere. Give us a review. Give us 5 stars. Or otherwise, don't give us any stars. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everybody.